All right, we're back with another episode of The Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
yes, so we are here, and today's episode is sponsored by none other than God's For You, a nonprofit organization with two missions that we've been focusing on, and that is supporting teachers that need supplies in order to, make ends meet for their students and for the needs of their classroom. So funds go towards helping get books, helping get pens and paper, all of the little things that we overlook, right? All the material that we take for granted, to be honest, and teachers are having to pay out of pocket. And then the other mission is supporting those that are in Africa. So we have connections over in Nairobi, Kenya.
Yes, definitely.
And we love to be able to support them with clothes, with different textile items that they need, and just be able to support them monetarily when we're able. So if you'd like more information, go and visit godsforyou.us and learn more today.
Yes, because we want to be well-rounded in all that we do. We don't want to look abroad and then see things that are needed here and just overlook them. So we want to be able to be a blessing in every area possible, because we know that there are needs everywhere.
Yeah, so we're just trying to do our part. And, if you have more questions, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction. But we have an exciting episode today on the Digital Leap, don't we?
Yes, we have.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a part two, if you will.
Right.
Digital reflections, now versus then. Or one could say then versus now.
How about that?
Yeah.
But either way it goes, we're going to dive into it.
Yeah, we're going to dive into it because there's so much to navigate in this digital era. So we just have to kind of be a little nostalgic for a minute and talk about what has happened and what has changed then versus now, or, just how we do things a little differently. So we have a few things that we wanted to discuss in regards to that. But first, it's a very important time of the year for us coming up.
Yes, it certainly is.
So
Black History.
Okay. Black History Month. So we're excited because Black History Month, at least in our household, was always a special time. I grew up participating in the Black History Month programs at church, and there was always some kind of presentation, a hymn or song or something that we had to learn, and we got to do the trivia.
Yes, and as a teacher, I always made sure that I informed my students was well aware of the many things that, as African Americans in this country, contributed to the making of this country. And we always want to be able to encourage and make our children coming up know that they have things within them that they can contribute towards the future, but we have to build a foundation and letting them know that this thing is real and it comes from a long history.
So this is kind of interesting. Speaking of Black History Month, it was the other day I saw a tweet that was trending, and it was talking about the American Girl books. So I don't know if you remember, but I think it was the black girl was named like not Adeline. It was definitely like
Addie something. That rings a bell. Yes.
Yeah. So I remember being a kid and wanting that collection. I don't think I ever got the doll. I don't know. Was I into dolls? I don't remember.
Not too much.
Okay. So I remember having some dolls, but it's not like a core memory of mine. So I don't know that I was.
And you weren't
pressed.
A collector. You just might have had one or two, but it wasn't something that you went after.
Yeah, I wasn't too pressed to have the doll, but I do remember wanting the books and wanting the series. That was like a super big deal to me. So I do remember, loving that series, and I kind of wish I still had those books, because now it could be just, I don't know about a collector's item per se, but just something nostalgic to having that series, because I remember reading about her and her story and how it was like, I want to say 4 or 5 books, but I really don't remember the details of the book, so I'm not about to pontificate about what these books were about, because I don't remember.
No.
But I just remember the feeling of knowing like, oh, this is so cool. It's like a little black girl my age or something.
Something very relatable.
It was relatable.
Yes, and that's why it's so important that we focus in on Black history, because it was
representation.
You got to have representation, and you always want to be able to look at something and see yourself being a part of it, then because it's encouraging, and that's
it
the thing.
shows you what's possible.
Yes,
it definitely
that's
shows you what's
definitely.
possible. The representation of seeing
Absolutely.
yourself in a role or seeing yourself in a storyline, and you're like, oh, I never thought of myself in that way. Maybe this is possible. Maybe this is something I can accomplish or do. Or even if it's like a sad story or like something with a bad ending, it could be one of those things where you are like, okay, I have something that I identify with and say, okay, I can make it through this. If they made it, I can make it.
Absolutely.
Or if someone else has gone through something similar, I'm not alone, and I can, find a way out of this. I'm not by myself.
Right, and it's always comforting to know that you are not alone.
Yeah, that's true.
It's always comforting, because we sometimes in the world, if we allow ourselves to be isolated, then that's when all sorts of negativity takes place, and then you become stagnant and you don't see yourself moving forward, or you have any contribution that you can make. But as long as you allow yourselves to become a part of something, and knowing that you have contribution within you that you can make, it will allow you to move forward in a more positive way.
Yeah, definitely. So Black History Month, like I said, was always fun for us, and something we always prioritize. So what's some of the unforgettable moments that you have from Black History Month programs and different things that you've done?
Well, first I want to just reflect a little further back. As a kid growing up, we didn't have that. We weren't privileged to this type of information. We were always, the books that we always got were books that were hand-me-down, that we had to pay a whole lot of money just to, you rented them, and if the books were not brand new to begin with,
in their best condition.
Then if the books were become more tattered, then you had to pay full price for it. So you were up against a really tough
they give you a tattered book, but then if you return said tattered book, you're charged for the book being tattered. Like, okay, now what?
Make it make sense, right? But that's the way it was as a kid growing up, and it wasn't until the late 60s that they had the bookmobiles that came around into the community, and you were able to get books. But of course, these were not real valuable books. It was like very blase, for lack of a better term right now, that it was like you were getting books made available, but they weren't of high
just
quality.
For them to say, we gave you some books.
Exactly, but it was nothing that, was real eye-opening. And so, but okay, so being said, coming into being able to teach and having privilege to more information, it was very rewarding to know that Black people contributed so much, and just even the cell phone, for example, that everyone has that. You would never know that a Black man, and I'm sorry that I don't have his name right now, but you could look it up, and that's the thing, do research.
Don't rely on all of the information to be from us, because you can definitely, while you're listening, Google it real quick and get that answer. So that's a trivia for you. Who invented the Celica?
And then also, this lady, her last name is Bath, but she made a great contribution.
It was a food item, or
it was
an everyday use item?
No, it had to do with the eyes.
Oh, now that I don't know off the top of my head.
But these are different things.
But I do remember a Black person invented the Super Soaker.
That's true. Very true. Yes.
Now known as this Nerf gun Super Soaker. But that was really cool, especially as a kid learning, like, oh shoot, a Black person invented this. We love these. So that was really fun. What's some other core memories from?
Oh my goodness.
It doesn't necessarily have to be trivia. It could just be growing up, or something that you guys did for the Black History Month as a celebration.
As a kid, there was no such thing as a Black celebration.
That's true, huh?
All you were trying to do is get the Jet books and read up on what was happening.
That was definitely a thing. Jet magazine was hot stuff.
And that was where you got most of your information.
That was Black History Month.
That was Black History, yes. And then, of course, I didn't get Essence to see an Essence magazine until somewhere around in the early 70s, but
Okay.
Jet was like the late 60s that, you know, oh my goodness, and you really wanted.
I'm sure that was like a breath of fresh
Oh,
air.
man, it
See
certainly
people
was.
dressed up and styling and
Certainly.
profiling, telling their stories.
Yes, and it's just, you
Yeah,
know,
that had to be
concern.
cool.
Yeah, I loved it because it was very relatable, and
Yeah.
and it gave you, as I said, inspiration to really say, hey, listen, you know, you're not alone.
Right, yeah.
You know,
There's
so-
other people in the world that look like me that are doing cool things,
yes,
accomplishing their
yes,
goals, or at least, you know, striving towards their goals. So I'm sure that definitely had to
it
be a
was a
breath
treat.
of fresh air.
Yes,
for
it
sure.
was. It
How
was.
often did those come out? Because I don't know if they were monthly or not. Do you know? They might.
I might have been some, maybe. I'm not sure, but I'm sure they came out very readily. I don't know if it was every week, every 2 weeks or something.
Okay.
But it was
So almost like a
something.
newsletter type of thing.
It was really a breath of fresh air for real.
Yeah. So okay. So any other core memories?
But then, you know, living through being aware of the civil rights movement.
Okay, definitely.
You know,
definitely.
that was you always wanted to know what was happening with that. You know, and
who was where, and
who
doing
was
what.
where, and who was doing what, and like you know, like in 1955. Or late, you know, mid 50s, late 50s. That's when things really got started. As far and you wanted to know, you know, you wanted to know what was happening, going to the TV and trying to just find out information as to what was going on. That's why the Jet magazine was so important because it recorded
updates
it.
and what was happening.
You were able to read and about the timid.
Emmett Till
situation and how the mother wanted that picture when they drug him from. Oh my God, that was so frightening in a sense, and it was so real because living and growing up in the South, and you seeing the Ku Klux Klans, you know, making their rounds and making themselves visible and wanting you to know that, you know, that they wield some power.
Because if I'm not mistaken, I remember you mentioning that there was a situation that happened in your hometown and they had burned a cross right up the street from where y'all lived at the time.
Yes, they did. Those images are so etched in my mind till I don't think that I will ever forget, because I recall the night my dad and I were driving home from church and they had a rally where they were burning this cross, and I'm thinking to myself, these are religious people burning a cross. I never
couldn't reconcile how those things were connected.
How that came about. But anywho, you know, I recall that night very vividly and can see it as this moment we speak. And then the night again in the neighborhood as we were driving, that was a night we were coming home from the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, on Edison.
No, this was from this was Atlantic Beach. That was in South Carolina. Towards the North Carolina border, I believe. But anywho, that was another incident that I recall and I could see vividly. And every time I go home and I drive past that area, that's a reflection that comes to my mind.
Yeah,
you know?
I can't imagine.
Yeah,
it's really something too how locations can hold those kind of memories.
Absolutely,
you know, like
yes.
You go home and you see different places that you've been, and you're looking and you're like, wow, you know, things have changed per se, but I still remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah. And another thing too that there's a gentleman or a man that lived on a, you know, like you go to Edisto Beach. Okay, when you drive.
Edisto, South Carolina, for those of you that aren't familiar.
And when you go along that highway, there's this man who was a brick mason, and he built houses, and he had a really, really nice home that he had built for himself. The Ku Klux Klans burned a cross in his yard
because his house was too nice
and didn't want him to add on to it. They
said enough is enough, sir. Or no, not sir, boy.
Absolutely.
Enough is enough, boy. You ain't gonna be including no more space on this here house.
Your house is big enough.
No more square footage for you. Like, wait a minute, who made you the doggone architect and tell me what's possible for my home?
The architect, police, you know, but this real situations that you endured and you heard and you saw and you know it was real, you know. So those were memorable things. And every time I visit home, these are memories that comes back.
Think of home. No, I hear you. I'm thinking of just some of my core memories of like the Black History Month programs that we did, but also thankfully I did get to grow up in a time where we were able to read books that told stories of Black people, and there were like stage plays that, you know, were being converted from the books into stage plays that told stories. So not just Color Purple, but there was the piano lesson, and then there was that cool song that we had learned from the piano lesson that we performed "Oh Lord Berta." We did that at the Black History Month program. That was a hit. Everybody loved that song. But yeah, just little things like that go a long way when you start learning about your culture, because ultimately that's what it boils down to: Black culture and the rich history, from entertainment to science to math to invention to just a lot of different categories and genres. So we're excited to dive further into this topic with you guys to just discuss, you know, digital reflections, you know, and so we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back everybody to WDRB Media, the voice of the community. Here you are listening to another episode of The Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yes, so we are back with an amazing topic just about digital reflections now versus then. We love to be able to like dive into these kind of things because we know that a lot has changed.
Yeah, definitely.
The digital era has been
brought about a great
has just brought about significant changes from one generation to the next and to the next. So
yes,
one of the things that we were talking about, which is kind of like a small thing but a noticeable thing, is kids no longer drinking out of the water hose. And not just kids either, but people just not even bothering drinking, because water fountains are like cooties, germs, no thanks. So now everybody has like a water bottle, whether it's a plastic one or their own.
Yeah, and the water fountains, you know, were shut down after COVID.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that.
So I don't think people feel comfortable
they
drinking.
take them things off so fast, put plastic bags.
And I don't think that they've uncovered them since COVID.
In some places they have,
but I still think people might be a little skeptical about it.
Well, I remember being in New York City when we went to the tower, and the water fountain wasn't covered.
That's true. I do recall that.
Yeah. So so I guess it does depend on where it is.
And then some people will probably use and take a drink from it or fill a water bottle up from it, but I don't know how many people are fully comfortable using it at, you know, like once before, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
But when we talk about water fountain, and we were talking about civil rights, water fountains played a big role in the civil rights movement.
That's
because
true.
You know, they had the white fountains and then they had the black fountains.
Right.
And they had the black restrooms and the white restrooms. So there was a very distinctive movement that took place at that time where lines were not crossed.
Right. Yeah, you definitely had a big part of segregation when it came down to water fountains. I'm sure those of you that are listening have seen the pictures, the images of, you know, the white only fountains versus the black fountains. And unfortunately, there was always a huge difference as far as quality and cleanliness of how those fountains were maintained.
Absolutely, for sure.
So then to go from that segregated time to where now fountains are for anyone's use, but they now have different heights. So the people who are handicapped can also access those that are small, and then for children as well.
Yes.
So there's like a certain 3-foot height that, you know, some fountains are at, and then there'll be one that's maybe at a 4.5 foot height, so that others can reach it. But now that's the only separation, because it's obviously not about color when it comes down to water fountains anymore.
Yeah.
But
it's accessibility for every person.
Yeah, it's about accessibility. So that's kind of interesting how that made a huge change, a digital leap, if you will. But now we have our water bottles. So it's kind of like, okay, those who are health conscious are going to want to have water. They don't want to drink a lot of pop and it's a lot of sugar and all of that. But then also those that are environmentally conscious, they're going to have their own bottles.
That's right.
Because they're not going to want to
the planet.
Yeah. So it's really interesting how things have progressed and changed over the years, because it's something that probably gets overlooked a lot, but it has changed.
It has. Dramatically, yes.
Yeah, so that's very interesting. Just one of those ways that things have changed. But then we kind of talked about kids, because kids, you know, would get water from the hose if they were playing outside. But then you realize Do kids play outside?
No, not really. There are a few who may play basketball or football, and you may find those kids out, but you don't see kids out on the street doing hopscotch or double dutching and hula hoops. Yeah, those things are not readily used anymore.
Now, if you see a kid outside, it's because they're walking their dog.
True. Yeah.
Or they legitimately play an outdoor sport like basketball that's like outside practice.
Yes.
And then there's soccer, there's American football,
and then there's hockey,
baseball.
Those that are into hockey.
Yeah, but that's still going to be indoors because it's cold.
Yeah.
So even that's not outside. But at least with basketball, baseball, soccer, and American football, those can definitely apply to being played outdoors for sure. And flag football. But other than that,
they have street hockey.
I ain't never seen it.
In some areas you did.
That sounds like some out of a movie. Street hockey. What is street hockey?
Yeah, there are kids who set up and play who's into hockey.
I'll believe it when I see it.
But I have to reflect it. We were talking about Black history, and I just want to interject this. And there's this movie that I always showed my kids during Black History Month was the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman.
Oh, yeah, with Miss Cicely Tyson.
Yes, Cicely Tyson. She did a fantastic job portraying that in that role. And if you get an opportunity to look that movie up, please do, because it's a really good movie, and it kind of depicts a lot of issues that during the civil rights movement it had a lot to do with it. So that's the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman by Cicely Tyson.
Yeah, I definitely have seen that movie, but it's been
a while.
Years. I mean years. So I can't remember very much other than she lived a long time, and it was like the story, obviously an autobiography of her life. And I just remember the detail of Cicely Tyson's role in that movie, of how like they aged her throughout that movie. I remember that for sure, because I was so impressed with how they aged her along the way of that storyline. So I think we'll have to pull that out of the archives and watch it
again, because it's a really good movie, and she did such a fantastic job. Yes, so I would encourage you, if you get an opportunity to pull it out, do it and watch it. You'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. So I know we were talking about movies. You brought up that movie with Cicely Tyson, but I know that there is good news to celebrate with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, because so a couple things to announce there. It's finally being put on Disney Plus, so that people who have just been waiting for it to be able to watch and view at home obviously will be able to now do that. But it will be one of the first movies since 2019 to have a theatrical release in China. Because China had banned, movies for whatever reasons. I'm not going to get into all of that. But they did ban MCU or Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And Black Panther: Wakanda Forever will be one of the first ones to come out in China. So that's going to be exciting. And the reason why I'm excited about that is because the movie has done really well on its own without like its global release. But China is very huge. Obviously, they have a huge population, and the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a huge thing there. So that means that that movie does have potential to reach $1 billion, which would mean 2 movies with Black leads within the MCU or just in general would reach $1 billion, which is just Black history right there.
Right there. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that will be cool if it can, even if it doesn't reach $1 billion, even if it gets close to that, it's still amazing.
Yes. And and we have to reflect, because if we go back to before the 60s, when you began to see maybe 1 or 2 Black faces in the movies, in the different movies that were being made, that was like, oh, look, there's a Black person in there, and to think of what a leap has taken place from then till now, you have just about an all Black cast. It's phenomenal to see that, and what a big leap that we've taken from the time, movies.
Now, as far as movies are concerned, I mean, you think about somebody like we were just talking about, with Cicely Tyson. the very first movie that she was in, like full feature film, was called Sounder.
Mm-hmm.
And she talked about, if you read her book, which I highly recommend for those of you that are book lovers or just in general love her as an actress, as a woman, she has an amazing story that you can find in her book, Just As I Am. But she talked about filming that movie, and she talked about just the culture shock that she experienced while filming because of the different things that were being done in the industry and what she was learning about herself in the process. So definitely, if you get an opportunity or want to read that book or get the audio book, I highly recommend Miss Cicely Tyson's book, Just As I Am. And you can hear that segment as far as her talking about her experience with Sounder. But yeah, so another thing that we wanted to discuss just in regards to how things have changed over the years. So we were talking about kids playing, and then we kind of talked about the movie thing for a minute, but kids are playing way more video games now.
Oh my goodness, yes.
Way, way, way more.
It has jumped a big leap has taken place, because you know what? When it first started, you had this little ping pong type of thing on the screen, where that was a big issue, where you had this like a ping pong table or something.
I don't remember what they called that game.
But you remember?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I do not remember what that game was called, but it was ping pong.
Yeah.
And it was literally a ball that was bouncing around the screen, and then you'd move your little cursor in order to get it, to hit it back, continue to bounce so that you didn't lose the ball and lose the game. Because I think Google has a version of that now that you can play when the internet is not working properly or something.
Really?
Yeah, it's a whole thing. But anyway.
But that's a big leap when you think about it, and all the graphics. From that game to now. Yeah, then the graphics. Call of Duty and, the graphics that you see now compared to then is like, whoa, what a leap we've taken.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that I noticed in regards to video games is because there's so much more theatrical, like there's a huge story involved in it. The type of games that kids are into now are entirely different from like what you're saying, the games that you guys played. So tell me about the ColecoVision.
Oh my goodness. Oh my God.
I just pulled that one out of the archives, y'all. I don't even know if those of you that are listening know what a ColecoVision is, but it was one of the very, very first video game consoles.
Yes.
So like before Sega, before PlayStation, before Xbox, even before Nintendo, really.
Yeah.
It was ColecoVision.
That's what it was.
And I don't know if Nintendo bought them out or what it was. It was something to that. But anyway, ColecoVision. You remember now?
I do remember. But
what was one of the games that you liked to play?
I remember something about, oh goodness, what was it?
I remember.
You do?
Ladybug.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, Ladybug.
Because I was thinking no, it wasn't butterfly.
Close.
But yeah.
So tell those that are listening a little bit about what you remember about Ladybug.
My goodness, I don't.
I got her good with that one, y'all.
You did, because I can't hardly remember. All I can do is remember playing Ladybug.
Okay, so this is another trivia for you that are listening. You'll have to, do your due diligence here, but look up ColecoVision and look up the game called Ladybug, because if I remember correctly, it was kind of like an introduction to Pac-Man.
It very well could be.
It wasn't Pac-Man, obviously. Pac-Man has always been Pac-Man, but it was similar as far as how you played. If I'm thinking of the correct game, I could be completely wrong. But that was a game that I remember you being locked in on.
Yeah.
And when Mom locks in on something fun or something she wants to do, she locks in for a while.
Yes, I do.
So we would call that being in a chokehold. Well, Ladybug had her in a chokehold, y'all.
A strong one, too.
Strong. So, the reason why I remember all of that is because...
Well, you were young and you were beginning to really understand, and so those were like things that was really catching your attention, and you were, being young and seeing all this new stuff. It really would.
Well, I can tell you even more specifically what brought it full circle for me is I was trying to think of a good gift and I can't remember what the holiday was. I don't know if it was Mother's Day, birthday, or Christmas. I don't remember. Do you remember?
I think it was Mother's Day.
Mother's Day. Okay, so I was trying to think of a good gift for Mother's Day. And typically I'd like to, be sentimental in some kind of way or do something that means something to the person. I don't just give gifts just to say. I just, that's just me. But I remember asking my brothers and my dad what it was that they thought, mom would like or what she was interested in. And so they were the ones that put me on to the ColecoVision and this game called Ladybug, because I was really young at the time that you guys were even into it. So I really didn't have many memories of it per se. But I went on eBay and found the ColecoVision and found the game Ladybug, and I bought it off eBay and had it shipped to the house.
Yep, you sure did.
And surprised you guys with it. So I think we might have played once or twice afterwards, but that was it.
But I think it's still at the house.
Lord, it's in Buffalo, New York.
Yes.
Child, we got to go rescue that thing.
I believe
that's a collector's item, maybe.
I
don't know.
Yeah, it should be, because that's one of the first,
Yeah. So this is us kind of taking a stroll down memory lane with you guys, but we will be right back. You're tuned into the Digital Leap on WDRB Media, voice of the community. We'll be right back, y'all. You're tuned in to the Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanchard Robinson, the Watcher.
Yeah, here live on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you information and inspiration that you need, honey child. But no, we're back and we're talking about just the digital leap that has taken place over the years. Everything from within our Black history, within our own personal history, the way that we live our lives and the things that we do has changed.
It has definitely changed.
It has changed. And not necessarily that it's all bad, but it is weird when you think back and you're like, wow, we really used to go outside and race up and down the street with our friends. I don't think I've seen kids do too much of that anymore.
I know, and draw hopscotch on the sidewalks, or even just use color mark chalk, and do
little things like that.
Just do things on the sidewalks.
Now, don't get me wrong. There's definitely, even within our neighborhood now, kids will be outside when it's nice out, when it's warm out, and they'll play and they'll have fun. But it still is different.
Oh, it is definitely
It's
different.
definitely just different, because nowadays technology allows them to do a whole lot more.
And the only time, when I think about it, they have the little mobile cars that the kids will come out and drive, but you don't see.
Oh, the little kids in the electric little cars.
Or they're riding their bikes.
Yeah,
and stuff
definitely
like that.
they'll still ride their bikes.
Yeah,
but they won't leave the cul-de-sac though.
No.
They are not riding through the city streets to get to
all.
anywhere. They are not leaving their little small community.
That's true.
Back in the day, you just go.
Yeah.
And you got back before the street lights came on, and you was in big trouble.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
Things are different.
Yeah, because when you think about the kidnappings and stuff and the sex trafficking and
all sorts of things.
So people are more aware of the fact that you've got to watch your kids and you can't allow them to go leave.
It's just better safe than sorry.
Absolutely, because times have changed.
That's very true. So kids playing has gone from all outdoors to only occasionally outdoors.
Exactly.
But so now they're on their tablets. They even have tablets. First of all, let's talk about the fact that kids have cell phones and tablets at young ages of 6 and 7 and up. And maybe even younger, because there's plenty of toddlers that have tablets.
You better believe it.
They can be educational,
yeah.
But also YouTube Kids is keeping them entertained, because no kid really likes a long car ride. So you got to give them something to do. Otherwise, they're going to be fussing, crying, or complaining.
Because before, I could recall being in a car, you were happy to be in a car riding, going somewhere.
I'm just happy to be here.
And you want to see whatever you can see as you're driving.
Something to do.
That was your laptop or your
entertainment.
or the digital books that the kids
the tablets.
The tablets, that was your tablet, riding and looking out the window.
Yeah, that was the entertainment for sure, going for a ride. I do remember some of that as well in my childhood, just being excited to go to the grocery store just to be able to get out the house and do something, but then also not wanting to go to the grocery store because you don't want to be walking around grabbing stuff, but you want to go somewhere, so you do it. It was just
I didn't like the grocery store. My sister Viv used to always tease me, why aren't you going to the grocery store, knowing that she was going to strike a nerve with me.
Right, knowing that is not where you want to go. But it's definitely different because you have, like I said, toddlers with tablets.
Yes.
And kids with cell phones. Now, some of it, back to your point with safety, I get why some kids need to have cell phones very young because, if they're in an after school program or they're riding the bus to get home, you just want to make sure that they got on the bus and that they're safe because things can be scary nowadays as far as stuff that people are willing to do and put your life at risk in the process. So it's a cool thing from that standpoint, just safety wise, you can make sure you can communicate with your child because, when I was young, you just had to wait for me to get home. And you just trusted and believed in God that I'm going to make it home.
Yes.
And I mean, it had its time and its place, but now there's cell phones and you can kind of do those check-ins on your own. Text me when you get on your bus so I know you're safe, But yeah, so that's definitely a digital leap, if you will. So what's another quote-unquote digital leap as far as childhood, things that have changed?
Boy, you're really taking me back.
Going way back.
Well, like right now, you didn't get on the phone and call in an order and have it delivered.
Oh yeah, you definitely weren't ordering no food.
No,
it was no Grubhub, no Postmates, none of that. It was no Uber Eats, let alone an Uber at all.
You're just happy to get in the car sometimes to go to, a little stand or something and get a burger or a milkshake or something.
See, that's the thing, the convenience of being able to get takeout. Do people still call it takeout?
Delivery?
I don't know. Anyway, y'all have to let us know. Do y'all still call it takeout, or is it just whatever app you're using? I'm getting some Grubhub. How do we refer to this now?
We're gonna have something delivered or whatever. I don't know what is
because, for example, kids now, they have a cell phone, so they can order the food themselves, and the account can be linked to their parents' account, so that that their parents can pay for it. And boom, you got food chilling while you at the house chilling. You got food on the way.
Exactly. So, but
I came up in you don't have no McDonald's money era. We ain't getting no McDonald's. You ain't got no McDonald's money. That's the era I came up in. Maybe it's different now. Maybe kids got McDonald's money now.
And listen, the treat for me as a kid growing up is that on Sunday evenings, Dad would put us in the car and take us to this place called Royal Dairy. Well, I don't know, Royal Dairy, I believe is what it was called.
Royal Dairy,
yeah.
All right.
And you blessed to get 2 items. And so
how much were those items?
Those, 15, 30 cents, I don't know, something like that.
Wow.
Wow. Yes. And
wow.
Yeah, you got, it might have been 40. I don't know. It was cheap because you get $1.
That's a huge digital leap right there.
The $1 went a long way.
A whole lot longer than it does now.
And everybody was able to get a couple of items, and you were excited to be able to, get a milkshake or a cheeseburger or a hot dog or some French fries. That was a real big treat, you know. And to think about now, it's like. I'll get some fries. I'll get a burger. But back then it was, oh boy, we're going to get a burger. We're going to get a cheeseburger. We're going to get a milkshake.
That's exciting. That was life-changing.
Yes, very much so, But nowadays it's just a regular run-of-the-mill thing,
Yeah, no, that's interesting how, like you said, the dollar goes a lot further now, and how much it was a treat to even get to do those kind of things. Now it's almost like, just an assumption that you're going to get it. Like, okay, we're going to go grab some Chick-fil-A, y'all. Let's go. Or order it on the app and we're going to pick it up.
Exactly.
Definitely a huge difference. And speaking of which, you said going and doing those things were a treat. The fact that nowadays, teens, at least the ones that I've met and known, don't really seem pressed to want to learn to drive.
Oh, That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Because I could recall as a kid, that was
Chomping
one.
at the bit.
Yeah, that was one of the
Wanting to
things
learn
I
how to
can't
drive.
wait till I get, to
Having
go and
the first car, being able to learn
Yeah.
how to drive.
And getting a license was a big deal. It was
Yeah.
like, oh my, it was like it was an independent type of thing. You know?
I guess because, and this is just my theory on it, I think because people have cell phones and they're connected to everything all the time, it's like, well, what do I need to drive to go anywhere for? Everything's right here. Everything's right in the palm of my hand anyway.
And then, if it becomes necessary to go somewhere, Uber, Lyft,
Yeah.
so
You're never really stuck unless you're just flat out down broke.
Yeah.
But you can always call a family or friend or someone, hitch a ride if need be.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why teens nowadays are not really, really pressed as far as like, oh, I got to learn how to drive. I got to get out of here. Unless they're in an oppressive environment where they just know that driving is going to allow them to get out of the house. I don't think that they care too much. They're moving on.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so I do think that it's tied to the cell phone and being able to have their friends, in a chat, or like they can play video games with their friends right from their phone.
Yeah, you could be at home, and then that's a big leap right there.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You don't have to, we don't have to set up a time to go
Right.
and meet somewhere just
Right.
on our phones.
You don't have to get permission from anybody's parents or whose house you can go over.
That's right.
You're just on FaceTime in a group chat,
and you go in and
or you're on a video game on your phone playing with your friends.
I'm thinking about my parents. If they were living today, it would be like
It would be a culture shock for sure.
for sure, because they would not be able to kind of wrap their heads around it, how this thing works,
Yeah, because so much really has changed, and it's within a lifetime. It's not like it's been that long that things have changed. So I do think that it has a lot to do with the convenience of cell phones. Why kids are like, oh, I'll learn how to drive when I learn how to drive. It ain't a big deal to them because again, if I want to talk to my friends, I'm gonna hop on the phone and do that. I can send them funny stuff. They can send me funny stuff. If we want to play a game, we're gonna hop on this game, tell so and so to hop on, we're about to play this such and such game. So it's just different how you can connect with your friends, because before that's what it was all about. You wanted to go to your friend's house, or you want them to come over your house so you could spend that time together.
And you used to go to the arcade. The arcade was a big deal.
Nowadays, the only arcade is like a Dave and Buster's or a main event type place where you have all of those things in the building.
Yes.
But that's about it.
And you can order food and hang out in a place like that. But
so they have the kids area and the adults area, so everybody can find their own thing all in one building.
But you don't see that many arcades anymore, because
arcades
arcades are not available.
Now I can't even think of one in this area. I know they exist, but now it's more like the nostalgia of it, where we're gonna go to the arcade and play some Galaga or some Street Fighter or something, Mortal Kombat. But
do they still have Pac-Man?
Yeah, they still have it, but again, arcades are not big like they used to.
No, not at all.
So if you find one, that's a rarity.
Yeah. And to think back, what was the 80s when they were really popular? That
huge
was
in the 80s.
Yeah.
And even in the 90s, arcades were huge.
Yeah.
They were huge.
But it wasn't until around the 2000s.
Now they have game trucks.
Yeah.
They got the game trucks, guys. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced one, but they are cool. I'm not gonna hold you. It is cool because the truck will pull up in front of your house. The tech will set everything up, and the gamers that are going to be playing, they'll like walk you through how to use the stuff, because some of the game trucks are for like a PlayStation 5 or Xbox, but then some of the game trucks are virtual reality game trucks.
Is that what your brother did?
Nephews, my nephews had that for
one of their birthdays.
I can't remember whose birthday, but anyway, one of the boys' birthdays, we got a game truck, and it was fun. The kids had an absolute blast, and what made it cool too is, wasn't this after COVID? So we were able to privatize everything to where it was safe.
It was after.
So the kids were still able to have fun. They were still able to be safe. It was just family. And, the guy, he sanitized everything. He made sure everything was clean. He wore his mask and even gloves, I think, in order to get stuff set up, him and his son. And they had a blast.
It was a good time. And it was
great memories.
Something different to do.
Yeah, definitely was something different and something that I think for them will be hopefully a core memory, because that was the first time they got to do something like that, and with it being a pandemic, it was like, okay, well, we were still able to have fun.
And then too, to set up the inflatable.
Oh yeah, it was like an inflatable jump house.
Yeah, that's what it was.
That we did for one of my nieces for her birthday, because this was also during the pandemic, so we didn't want her to miss out on being able to have some kind of fun with a handful of family members that we have in town. And that was loads of fun. They came and set it up super early at like 7, 8 in the morning. It was already pre-sanitized and ready to go. So when the kids, got here, they got in that jump house and they stayed until nightfall. I mean, they had a ball.
And then talking about what a big leap of thing that was, because years ago
couldn't
you
even imagine doing something like that in your yard.
I know, right, in your yard.
Yeah,
big inflatable giant whatever
jump
house in your yard. That's a big leap.
Yeah, so it's just really cool to be able to like walk down memory lane, if you will, and discuss the way things have changed and the things that are possible now, because it really does alter our interactions.
Yes.
You go from, begging and pleading with your parents to go over to a friend's house to now you just call them up on the phone, text them, FaceTime or whatever.
Yeah.
It's totally different now. It's less begging and pleading in that regard. And people still want to get together and hang out in person, but it's just a little different now.
Yeah, it is.
So we appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be right back after these messages. This is the Digital Leap on WDRB Media, the voice of the community. All right, welcome back to the Digital Leap, WDRB Media, the voice of the community, the only station giving you information and inspiration that you need. So we're here, your hosts, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
Yes, and we've just been walking down memory lane.
Yes,
the digital
so
reflections, now versus then versus now, and it's just so much that has changed.
So much, and to think about, how much perception you had about the things that are changing. Did you have that? Can you go back and think in your mind saying that, what things would be like?
Our actual ideologies have changed because of the way the digital era has changed things for us and how we interact, how we live. The decisions that we make are all based on the access that we now have with this technology in our hand called a cell phone. The access that we have to people is much easier. You don't really have to memorize phone numbers anymore.
No.
You don't have to memorize the amount of information you had to memorize anymore.
And you don't have to carry around a little phone book in your purse or your pocket so that you can look up a number.
Kids nowadays don't know what a phone book is, let alone a pocket phone book.
Yeah,
but anyway,
that's true.
They don't know what the yellow pages is.
No, not at all. That's right. They probably
have no
don't.
idea.
Yeah.
What's a phone book? What's yellow pages?
Exactly.
They'd be so perplexed. But so much has truly changed. But last but not least, one of the major changes in areas of Digital Leap has taken place is how we interact with our business. Because the way that people used to advertise and do things was what we term as guerrilla marketing now, where you go door to door with flyers and you're putting hanger style flyers on people's doorknobs, or you're sticking cards,
billboards.
You're sticking cards on people's windshields. Now, not to say that people don't still do those things, because I don't think that's ever going to stop. However, it's not necessary as the only means to market.
Right.
Nowadays, social media is free. You can create an account on all these various platforms. You have Facebook, also known as Meta. You got Twitter. You got Instagram. You got TikTok. You got Snapchat. You got all these other ones as well. And you advertise right there for free and drum up business by connecting with people based on your relatability, your content, how much they enjoy what it is you have to say. That's totally different now.
For real. And I'm going back, years. It was expensive. The radio was a way to advertise. And we still have, obviously we're here with you guys on the radio, and we have our sponsors and people that obviously use this as a means to advertise their business.
but it has expanded beyond just that nowadays.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And putting it on, get advertising on TV. That,
it's always been the most expensive option.
But that's what I was going to say. It's very expensive. So you had to really have it together to use that platform.
You have to be able to afford to advertise on TV. I mean, just look at Super Bowl commercials and how much they pay to get those commercials during the Super Bowl. It's millions of dollars just because of the amount of eyes and viewership that's happening. But now you can run ads on Facebook, on Google, on YouTube. You run ads, and then the people like myself who are YouTubers, we can get paid because ads are running on our YouTube channel. It's just completely different. The way marketing is being done nowadays. And so, like, for me as a brand strategist, business consultant person, I am constantly encouraging people to not give up on social media, not to give up on marketing themselves, because the world is your oyster if you can be consistent. And that's usually the most difficult part.
And consistency works in many ways.
Every area.
In every area. You've got to be consistent.
If you want to be successful, you have to be consistent. That's ultimately what it boils down to. And so I'm always encouraging people and clients, just to be consistent with the content that you're producing, be consistent with the outreach, because that's ultimately what's going to change things as far as your marketability. But that has changed as far as how people view these kinds of things, what they feel like works for them. And I feel like there's like a kind of a gap. Maybe it's an age gap, maybe it's an information gap, but there's a gap to where some people are still struggling to wrap their heads around what's possible. And I feel like they need some encouragement sometimes to know, like, you know what, you can get on TikTok and it doesn't have to be all dance videos, but you can get on TikTok and it can build your brand, it can build your business and work for you.
But I think a lot of times too that when people have ideas, they don't seek out, they don't seek out people who who has the knowledge to
the knowledgeability.
And I think that's
they're trying to do things on their own,
right?
Because it's cheaper.
And it's like going to the dentist. You have to if you got a tooth problem, you can't go to the mirror and fix it. You go to the dentist, and that's with everything. But sometimes we want to do things jangling, if you will,
or cut corners.
Yes, and you lose out. But if you follow the procedures or you seek out the professionals, then you can get
professional results.
Exactly, that's it right there. Get the professional results, and then you will be encouraged, and then you can, and then we can encourage others, because this is what it all
boils down
about.
To. So it's really amazing as far as what is possible now, how it has opened things up. You are able to reach out into the world, like the entire world.
Yes.
Because of social media and because of these different outlets that we have, the internet allows us to reach anybody in the world at any time.
At any time.
I do, e-commerce management, and I'm always fascinated by the locations that we're sending orders to. China. I mean, we had an order that was going to Puerto Rico, and I was just like, man, this is just so cool that somebody found this product and bought it, and now I'm shipping it to them in Puerto Rico
and in Hawaii.
To me, that is just the coolest thing that fascinates me every time.
The world is small when you think about it. It's really small.
I never get tired of that though. Like I'm always appreciative, but it's just so cool to me what is possible, because we're able to reach people. Like this broadcast is reaching out nationally and even internationally because of syndication and because of broadcast and because of how technology has allowed us to reach out
and to be able to connect with people, to have them come and be a part of our show.
Yes, exactly. And so now We have special guests, featured guests, and artists lined up for you guys because of this medium, because of this outlet. And it's all because of what's possible, because of technology, because of the digital leap that we've taken, that we can even do this. We can broadcast with a high quality.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Without spending thousands upon thousands of dollars to rent out professional
equipment,
studio equipment. We can provide quality, and it reaches people all over
the world. It makes the world so small.
It is just so fascinating to me that those kind of things are possible. When my Grams was living, and you know, she was pretty up to date. She was
sharp. She was very sharp.
Yeah, so she was, you know, able to text, and at a certain point she was emailing. And I remember asking her sometimes, like, Grams, what do you think about the fact that you have a cell phone and you're using a computer? And she would just roll her eyes and shake her head, because she would have never in all of her 100 years, literally 100 years, have imagined that she would live to see a black person become the president of the United States of America, first and foremost. Let's just start there. She never would have guessed that one. She always talked about that.
Yes.
That was a huge deal for somebody who was literally born in the year 1921. Okay, y'all, for those that just need to understand how important this was and is. So then to also have the internet, and also be able to communicate and email people, send them pictures, and them send you pictures over the internet. That was just fascinating.
And have stuff delivered that you can order online and have it delivered.
Oh yeah, when I first had groceries delivered to her, she was like, "Whoa, wait a minute! You ordered this and sent it to me?"
Yes, I remember how.
And she was so excited, and she gave those people a big tip because she could not believe that her granddaughter, who was in a whole other city and state at the time, had ordered her groceries and had them delivered straight to her door. That was life changing.
That was
that was life changing for her for sure. She was like, "Wait a minute, you ordered these? You're sending them to me?"
And then she was able to place her order herself, and that was like a real big jump for her.
That was a big deal. So it's really cool what has been made possible because of the digital leap, the era that we get to live in. And it's really cool that we get to share these moments with y'all. So please feel free to share your stories, drop comments, and share some nostalgic moments, some Black History moments, some digital leap moments with us, as we love to hear from you.
Yes.
And you can connect with us on Instagram at CookieTruth and
God's for you.
At God's for you. Yeah. So we love to hear from you. You know, like I said, we appreciate you guys. And you've just heard the latest episode of The Digital Leap with your host, CookieTruth and
Blanche Drayton Robinson, the Watcher.
So we appreciate y'all for tuning in to WDRB Media, Voice of the Community. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.